We love the balance that the bicycle brings to the world and its power to make people, communities, and the planet healthier. Come ride with us.
Hi, this is Kristen from Planet Bike, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your Protege 9 wireless computer. I'm just going to go over what's included with the computer when you open it up. You've got the computer itself, which does not have a battery in it, so you'll need to add in the battery. You can take off the protective screen covering. This is the bracket that the computer will actually slide into. And this is the sensor that'll get attached to the fork and the magnet to the spoke. It needs to pass by within 5 millimeters. And then we have these zip ties to attach the brackets to the bike. And that's it. We're going to open the bag and get the battery out. And the cover requires a coin. I prefer a quarter. So we need to put the coin in that slot and twist to remove the battery cover. And then we're going to put the battery in so that the writing is visible. And then we're going to put the cover back on, twist. And you'll see that the computer is showing the unit flashing in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. There are buttons on the back of the unit that we're going to need to press. There's the red set button on the upper left. There's a Bike 1-2 button on the right that we won't use until the computer is programmed up. And the silver mode button is on the bottom right of the unit. We need to use that to program the computer. The red buttons require a small poking tool. They're slightly recessed in the casing, and I prefer a Phillips screwdriver for that. So we see kilometers per hour after putting the battery in. If we want to change that to miles per hour, we're going to want to press the silver mode button one time. This is going to change the unit to miles per hour. To select that unit, we need to flip it over and press the red set button. And then we're going to see 2154 with the 4 flashing. This is the default wheel size setting for Bike 1, which is shown in the upper right corner. This is the size for a 700 by 35 or a common hybrid tire. If yours is different, you'll want to look at the chart in the instruction manual and change as needed. We're going to change ours to be 2160. So this 4 flashing, we want to press the silver mode button a few times to get that to be a 0. We are at a 7, a few more presses. Now we're at a 0, which is what we want. So we turn it back over, press the red set button, and the flashing digit moves over one spot. We're going to press the mode button, change it to a 6, press the set button to choose that. The 2 and the 1 are good, so we're going to press the set button a couple more times. And now we're at the odometer for Bike 1, which is again lit. So when you're changing the battery, you might have mileage already on the computer that you'd like to reprogram in so you can keep adding on your miles. If you want to start fresh, and you're going to use the same method as before, by pressing the mode and the set button. But if you want to just start fresh, you can just leave all of these zeros here by pressing the set button 6 times to move through all of those digits. Now we're going to be at 4 zeros, which is the default wheel size setting for a second bike. You can use this unit on another bike and program it up for a different tire size if you buy another mounting bracket and sensor kit. Most people use it on one bike, and we're just going to move through these 4 digits, and we'll just leave it at zeros by pressing the set button 4 times. Now we're to the clock. So the hours flashing is 12 o'clock. Here it's 2:15. So we want to change that 12 to a 2 by pressing the mode button. And then we're going to press the set button to select that. Now the tens digit is flashing. We're going to change that to a 1 by pressing the mode button again. One time, pressing the set button to choose that. And now the 0 is flashing the ones digit. We're going to change that to a 5 by pressing the silver mode button. Then we'll press the red set button one final time, and the computer's all lit up, showing all 4 lines, and it's all programmed and ready to go. We just need to get everything on the bike now. So now we want to get the computer bracket mounted onto the bike. And the way it comes is that it's all set up to go on a stem of the bike. It just fits right on there, but you can loosen this bolt twist it 90 degrees, and then it can go on a handlebar. We're going to leave it on the stem for this bike. So we're going to thread the zip ties through these 2 holes and just push them through. And then we're going to press this against the stem and wrap both the zip ties around and pull them nice and tight. You want to make sure that this is good and snug on the stem or the handlebar so that the bracket doesn't twist too much. And really pull on them. You can use a screwdriver too to kind of make sure you're getting them to bite. And then we're going to grab the computer and make sure those zip ties are good. And we're going to slide the computer into the bracket and push it forward. And that is going to cause the computer to kind of wake up and all 4 lines will be showing. So now we want to get the sensor and the magnet attached to our bike. Sensor goes on the fork and magnet goes on the spoke of the bike. Now this fork tends to be a little bit broader on the front side, and the back is a little bit more tapered. So it isn't, the sensor's just not going to fit as well on the back end of this fork. So we're going to put it on the front. And there's a little pad on the bracket that sort of just rests up against the fork. And there are 2 channels where the zip ties get threaded through. So we're going to thread these zip ties through our sensor bracket and get it all set. Set it up against our fork, and it can go anywhere along the fork. The magnet needs to pass by the top or bottom. So we just want to keep that in mind as we're planning where to put the sensor and then also the magnet on the spoke. So we'll just cinch the zip tie down. And there's 2 of them, and you won't want to get them super tight just because we're kind of still fine-tuning the adjustment. Play around with the adjustment. And there's a thumb screw up here that allows you to pivot the sensor towards the spokes of the wheel, towards where the magnet's going to be. So next we're going to take our magnet, which has a Phillips head screw on it. We're going to loosen that completely. Remove the screw, and there's like a little spacer, and then there's the actual magnet itself that has a hole, so you can just slide it onto a spoke, either flat-bladed or round. So we're going to add this onto the spoke, just slide it on and put the little spacer back in the bolt and snug it down. You want to do it pretty firmly, but not all the way, because we're still sort of fine-tuning the adjustment of where that magnet's going to go past the sensor. So we'll sort of play around with the wheel here. We're just going to line it up at the top of the sensor. So we're just going to move that magnet up a tiny bit. And we're going to pivot that sensor just a little bit more so that it's angled towards the magnet. And then tighten that down. And then we're also going to want to snug up that magnet just a little bit more to make sure that's nice and snug. And if it's not, it's just going to fly outward onto the spoke and go towards the rim. Once we have the sensor and magnet properly lined up, we want to just check that the computer is receiving the signal from the sensor and the magnet. So you want to lift the bike up to spin the wheel and give it a good spin, and you should see the speed reading on the screen. So I just want to go over the display of the computer a little bit. There are 4 lines on the computer, and you will always see the speed at the top, the ride time, the ride distance, and then the bottom line of information can change between the temperature and the time. We push it forward, the odometer, push it forward again, and then average and maximum speed. And your trip data can be reset by pressing and holding the computer for 3 seconds in the bracket, and that will cause all the ride data to go back to 0, and your odometer will keep adding on miles. So once we know that the computer is working and that the head is receiving the signal from the sensor, we want to make sure that that magnet is absolutely tightened down and trim off the extra zip ties on the sensor bracket. So we'll just take that Phillips head screwdriver, make sure it's nice and snug so it doesn't fly around on the spoke, and then grabbing some clippers or scissors, we just want to trim off the extra zip tie so it's not flopping around and getting in the way of anything else. So thanks for going through the setup of the wireless computer with me. It's a great computer, And if you ever have any issues with it, just drop us a line, info@planetbike.com, or give us a call. We can always help you out if you need a little bit, or if you're having some trouble with getting the unit to work. Please reach out. So thanks again, and we hope you come ride with us.